you are a father. You got a couple kids out there. Tell me about that. Like, what has been your successes with being a father, and where have you struggled?
Yeah. So, well, I had a stepson.
Okay.
I would say that's where I've struggled. That is a totally different beast than biological son.
Yeah.
There's just all kinds of unique challenges, right? Like, the spouse has to like help you get that in or whatever, because you've got a voice on the other side that, I mean, I feel it now. If somebody was to be my son's stepdad, it would be very hard to not,
Bad
be like,
mouth him. Yeah.
that guy sucks.
Yeah.
I'm your dad. So like, there's a lot of unique challenges that come with that. And also there's the lack of the emotional connection. Like there's obviously a connection, but it's different. I'm sorry. Like it is what it is. Like you can try to paint this picture that it's the exact same, but it's not. I mean, I was there when Jack was born, and it's, I love that kid and I love the other one, but it's not the exact same connection. So that has its challenges, right? Especially when you get to like 15 and you get into like full blown, you're not my dad mode.
Yeah.
That's Andy's 6'1" and I'm 5'8", so it's like you will, it's got its own situations. The other one turned 7 in January, and he is too much like me. We did a parent-teacher conference like a month ago, and the teacher's like, he's really good at math, he's terrible at English and reading, and he won't shut up in class. And I'm like, you're never gonna fix that. That's me. I'm like, you're screwed. And it just made me laugh because he's like super like logical, and you can't pull the wool over his eyes because he'll call you out on it and like tell you why you're wrong, and you're like, I'm impressed, but also kind of frustrated. Successes. And, I've not been super public about this, but the marriage is, I guess we could politely say, winding down. And lately I've spent more quality one-on-one time with my son than I ever did. Like there were always other sporting events or other, things going on, or I had to try to coordinate with this person to do this, or this person was around. Like it was very rare that Jack and I had like one-on-one time. And now it's like, when I have Jackson, my only goal is to create an experience that he's going to love, whether that's going to my buddy's house and shooting a 22 caliber Gatling gun off the back porch, or teaching him to ice skate, or going to a water park, or, whatever the case may be. It's like, how can I do at least one thing this weekend or this Wednesday, or, however it works out, where he will never forget that moment. And so it's been really cool to see that. I mean, we're closer now than we ever had been, and he's fun.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So as somebody whose marriage is winding down, as you put it, let's start with the kid. Like, what advice do you have for other fathers, maybe, or mothers? I mean, it could be either one, that are facing the same situation, where you've got kids involved, and now all of a sudden you can't be there every single day because you got to share the time, or what do you recommend for people in that?
Yeah, I mean, and by no means an expert, as this is the beginning of a whole new chapter. What I'm really trying to focus on, kind of like I said, is making that moment, that experience, as good as possible. So let's say I get him every other weekend, and there's always stuff to do. Mm-hmm. So I basically take one weekend and I'm like, you're not having fun, you're working, so that on the next weekend, you're not working, you're hanging out with your son. Mm. And so it's like intentionally trying to make every moment we do spend together as impactful as possible. It's, not bad-mouthing the other person. It's, being open about what's happening, not hiding it, right? He's asking questions. He's going to be curious. It's life. Let him know what happens. Let him know it's not him. We're trying to get him into a independent therapist to talk, just to have a third-party kind of voice in there. Just because we know it's a rough transition. And just love him. Yeah. I do my absolute best to never miss a evening phone call, and always say the good things, and make the time together fun.
Is there anything that you look back on the marriage that you would have done differently?
There's a lot of stuff. That's a tough question, because there's a lot of interesting, I think, reasons that my marriage failed. Obviously there are things I could have done different, could have done better, but I would not say that it's for lack of effort. So, I mean, Alex and I had conversations about this for way too long, where it was like, I had to get to a place where I could look myself in the mirror and say I did everything I could. Whether I did it right, whatever. Like, I tried everything I could think of, every bit of advice that I had been told, whatever that is, right? And I got to that place. And I got to a place where ultimately the decision had to be made to set a standard and say, if we're not doing these things to move the marriage forward, then we need to call it, because it's taking too much of an emotional toll on both of us, and it is not what I want to set as an example for my kids. Like, the last thing I want is, I won't name him, but one of my best friends grew up in a house where they're still married, and he's like, they never slept in the same room. I don't know that I've ever heard them say they love each other. Like, they set a terrible example of what marriage is. And I've actually had that conversation with a couple of people who are in that situation. So everyone says, like, you've got to keep the house together no matter what. I agree. I think that marriage is my parents worked for Family Life, Weekend to Remember conferences. They just retired 25 years running marriage conferences across the country. So I agree with that. There's a point, though, where the example you're setting for your kid is not the example that he needs to learn from. Like, I don't want my son to grow up thinking that what love looks like is roommateship. So, yeah.
Well, thanks for being honest about all that. I mean, it's a tough time.
It's fun. Real fun. Yeah.
I appreciate you, man. Let's shift to the next
now we have
segment.
to be happy?
Now we got to be happy, man. All right. Oof. Man, no, I love that I love that. Anyway, I asked you ahead of time if the topic came up, if we'd want to talk about it. And I appreciate you saying yes. I didn't just spring that on you, but it's a real conversation. It's really happening, and it's happening to half of the people in the world. So it's not like a small number of people are having, I mean, I would say more than that. I mean, majority of people are having problems in their marriage. Yeah. And half of them are ending it, like, at some point. So
it's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but it's happening. And so knowing how to navigate it and learning from people who have gone through it, are going through it, who are, it'll help those people. So anyway, I appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
All right, man. Well, let's talk about pivots a little bit. So your life's going in one direction and it pivots. So we're going to pivot to the 3-2-1 pivot. What are 3 books that have changed the direction of your life?
First, I just have to know, do you visualize the scene from Friends with the couch every time you say that?
I know. What is this? Tell me this.
What? You've not? Oh,
I don't. I've only seen one episode of Friends ever.
Recording. It's you just pivot. They get stuck in a stairway trying to move a couch, and he's screaming pivot because they can't. Anyway,
that's funny. No, but
we'll watch it after this. It's hilarious.
We might need to get that clip, that yelling, and then make that, cut it in every time. This is 3-2-1 pivot.
It's
Dude,
great.
That's funny. Okay.
All right. So 3 books. I told myself I wasn't going to say Rich Dad Poor Dad, so I'm going to just do it that way. I think one of the initial books would be yours. Not the rental properties, but the No and Low Money Down. Yeah. Because that one and I'm drawing a blank. Invest in Debt are both like the first 2 books that I ever read on like creative stuff, and I love the creative options for investing. And no, I know you're going to come on the mic, so I didn't do it just because Brandon's here.
Dude, you get to say these sort of things, and you think it's a big laugh, and then you leave, and then I have to deal with this ego. This is not funny.
You're welcome. Why do you think I brought him on? Because I know he was going to say my book.
Just take his knees out so he doesn't look down on you.
There you
go. Okay. Number 2, I would say, and this is really, it is and is not a life-changing book, is, have you ever read Free to Focus, Michael Hyatt?
I have, yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of books on time management. I love the 4-Hour Work Week, but that book was probably, it tells it in a different way. And for me, it was less of like, you have to block everything off and manage everything, and more of like, what do you want to focus on? Cool, get rid of everything else. Yeah. Which was really hard for me to learn coming out of the military, where like you just do everything all the time, no matter what, and you just work until it's done, even if that means you're not home. And so that book really helped me actually start understanding how to run a schedule and make, kind of a work-life balance. Not that exists, but for me. And then let's see, 3rd book. I read it this year. I think it's probably been shouted out before, but 10X is easier than 2X. Yeah. I'm in the middle of trying to outsource and hire and grow and scale all the things that aren't my zone of genius, and it's definitely it's uncomfortable, but it's helped a lot. Yeah, it's a great book.
That's a great book. Love it, man. All right, next question. 2 pivot people. What people have changed the direction of your life?
Yeah, well, Alex is going to love this answer, but I can't not say you because
Oh, thanks, man.
there was a conversation, a single conversation on base, Marine Corps Base, Hawaii, at my house over dinner where I was like, real estate's cool. Now what? And I asked you a simple question, and it led to the largest pivot in my life. Like the whole brand wouldn't exist, right? Because that idea had never crossed my mind. And I don't know that I would have known where to start or how to start if someone hadn't been like, go do this. So that one conversation absolutely changed the trajectory of my life. The other, I would say, is a guy named Wilson Canaday. He was a mentor of mine in high school. And I used to go to his house once a week on like Thursday nights, and we'd go and just talk shop. And he was a wrestling coach at one of the local schools, and he just a really, really, really solid dude. And he's always been there. So anytime I have questions, it would be him and my dad all through like high school and to date. Like when I have like real life questions that aren't your typical like entrepreneur sided whatever. It's like, oh my God, this is terrible, or this is great, or whatever. Like balance me on this. It's one of those two guys.
Ah, wonderful, man. All right, and one pivot quote. What's a quote that's changed your life?
Yeah, so can I cheat? And I'm gonna cheat. Yeah, I'm gonna cheat. David Osborne came and spoke to my mastermind at one point, and he said, "You kill a lot more with a grenade than a sniper rifle." It's like the whole shiny object. So the quote that I always tell people is like, everybody's heard, "Jack of all trades, master of none." There's a second part to that, which is oftentimes better than a master of one. And so for the longest time, I grew up in this entrepreneur real estate world where it's like focus, shiny object, it's bad. And then here's like the most successful person I personally know, I mean, net worth wise at least. And he's like, I'm all over the place. And then you look at Elon Musk and you look at like all these different people, and you got to focus somewhere to get to point A. But once you get there, like once you're at a place where you can explore a little bit, don't just hole yourself into a corner. And I've always been like the kind of all over the place, focus is a lot harder for me than vision.
Yeah.
And it was really, really, really good for me to hear that and like be able to let myself lean into that.
Wonderful, man. All right, what about advice? This is past, present, and future.
Okay.
So advice to your younger self.
Yeah. Man, I'm trying to remember the word that let's see. Filter. There's the word. The best word for it. Filter the advice you receive through the lens of A, has this person achieved what I want to achieve, or are they going where I want to go? And the best example I can give for that, I use this one all the time, and if you want to become a world-class MMA fighter, your mom loves you. If you don't have a mom, somebody loves you. Whoever that person is, put them in there. And the odds are that your mom is not the best person to teach you to become a world-class UFC fighter. But she has your best interest at heart. She absolutely does. But you're not going to go to your mom and be like, teach me how to beat, whoever, Khabib. You're going to hire Ray Longo or like Chris Weidman, or you're going to lean into professional UFC coaches. They might not care about you as much, but they're the right person for that job. And yet for some reason, when we get into like real estate investing, it's like, I'm going to get into real estate. Oh, my mom said it's a bad idea because she knows somebody who did this thing once and it didn't. And it's like, great. But if you follow Brandon Turner and David Green and Alex Felice and whoever that actually is successful in real estate, you're going to be successful. It's like the idea that if you went to a gym where Arnold Schwarzenegger, like the gym from Pumping Iron, where it's all yoked bodybuilders, you're going to get bigger. Yeah. You surround yourself with the people that you want to be like and the people that have already achieved what you want to achieve, and just learn to filter the advice. If somebody gives you advice and they've got your best interest at heart, but they're not the right person to give you that advice, it's not speaking from experience, in one ear, out the other ear, and focus where the experience comes from.
Awesome. What is something you've done in your life, like changed in your life over the last year, that's given you a better life?
It sounds very counterintuitive, but I've walked away from a marriage.
Oh.
That's the biggest life change, and things are on the up and up. I would say outside of that, really just leaning into fatherhood and finally finding it to believe what other people say, like getting past imposter syndrome. I think like trying to work into like finally leaning into like, oh, I am capable of these things, instead of the voice in the back of your head, being a good father and just moving away from I guess the real way to answer that would be moving away from negative. There were things in life that weren't serving me, and it's hard, but that move is absolutely improving my quality of life.
Cool. Legacy. In other words, when you pass away someday, what do you want them to say? David was what?
Really buff and good looking. Great father. I feel like that's a cop out, but I had a really interesting experience not too long ago, and it was like a kind of a meditative experience, and the ultimate thoughts from that were that fatherhood and like what my son's going through right now is the absolute most important thing in my life. So that, and helping 10,000, service members and vets achieve financial freedom, which I think in its own, giving them that purpose and that financial stability will cut down on both the homeless and suicide problem.
Yeah.
So I want to be a part in that solution.
That's beautiful. What are you excited about? What's coming up in your life, in business?
Man, yeah, I'm excited about a lot. Obviously, just growing the community and being around other people. I love that community. Heck, you've got Alex and Tyler are both members of, and they're both great people. Yeah, well, Alex the jury's still out, but
He's working on it.
It's there's some absolute superstars in there, and so just being able to grow that community and share it with other people it's so fulfilling, and so it's really cool. It's like I kind of started this thing as like, oh, let me find people that are like me to like hang out with, and now it's like I'm blown away as like the little guy in the group half the time. So I'm really excited about that, and I'm really excited about just leaning into the fatherhood and having the ability to spend time with him, doing really cool new experiences, because he's getting to the age where he can go and have fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's cool.